Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you. Morning, Ryan, and everybody who has joined the session today. Very, very excited to be sharing with you an introduction to cybersecurity, really, and taking it back to basics. With October being Cyber Awareness Month, I think it is important for us to share with regular people on what the importance of cyber awareness is and really demystifying the complexity of cyber. So today's session is broken up into 3 parts, which I'll explain to you just now. But we would really love for you to join our interactive participation through an app that we use, which is called Slido. Now, Slido is it's a safe app, so you don't have to worry about your information being shared or stored. But we'd love your participation. There is a quiz at the end, and there is an awesome prize to be won in the quiz. So what you can do is you can either scan the QR code that is on screen, either on your with your mobile phone, or you can actually join in a separate browser on your computer. And all we ask you to do to join is give us your full name and agree to the terms of service. And while I'm going along the presentation, there'll be a couple of questions and an opportunity for you to engage with us. So today's session is really broken up into 3 parts. And in the first part, I'm going to discuss with you what is cybersecurity, who are hackers, why are they hacking and trying to get our information, and is South Africa really a target? After part 1, there'll be a question which relates to what I've spoken about in that session. And then we'll move on to part 2, which is what are the psychological tactics and the technology tools that hackers are using to get our information from us. And then there'll be a question after part 2, and then we'll move on to part 3, which is really the most important part of why you're in the session today. And we discuss how you can prevent yourself from falling victim to cyber attack. So with that, I'm going to get started while you guys join Slido. What I can do quickly is just add the link into the chat. Let me do that quickly. And then you can join from there. And just see if I can do that. Not sure. Okay, let's just go into today's session. I'll quickly go back. So if you want to join, you can join through slido.com, and the code there is 2834775, and that'll take you straight into our session. So without further ado, let's talk about what is cybersecurity. And really, it is not a complex or a convoluted subject. It is anybody who interacts with the internet today, which happens to be over 68% of our population. Now, every time you engage with the internet, whether that is opening a web page and going onto a company's, an organization's website, or going onto any of your social media platforms like Facebook, and even when you like somebody's Facebook post or comment on somebody's Twitter post, you are leaving your own digital fingerprints of who you are and where you are, what device you're using on the internet. And that information is stored through your IP address and is a way for you to be able to be tracked. Now, unfortunately, what's happening is due to us making mistakes, normal people giving away too much information, that we are causing 90% of cyber attacks to happen. And this is just through human error, through us sharing too much information. So really, cybersecurity is sharing the information of so the practice of how you can protect your personal information on this internet world. And how you can do that is just by attending cyber awareness training sessions like this one or others. You can actually reduce your personal risk of your information being shared on the internet by 70%. So who are hackers and why do they hack? Hackers have jobs, just like you and I have a job, and they do this job very, very well. In fact, they are so innovative and they're becoming so creative in the ways that they try to get us to give away our information. And their motivation for doing this is really data for dollars, we call it. So they're stealing your information and they are selling it to bad actors for money. That's, they're getting paid to do a job. Now, there's two ways there's two things that they're doing with that information. From a personal perspective, and this impacts on normal people like you and I, our information can be stolen and used for impersonation fraud, which went up last year in South Africa by 337%. What that means is that your information can be used to open up an account or taking out a loan using your name. The bad actor then gets, the funds or the gifts or anything that they've bought using your details. You are unaware that your information has been used to get that line of credit. And a couple of months later, you'll get a phone call from a creditor saying, Isabel, you owe us 50,000 Rand for that loan that you took out. It's time for you to start paying back. And I actually have no idea that my information was used to take out that loan. And now it will take me about 3 years to actually clear my name and prove that I was not the recipient of those funds. So that's what's happening from a personal perspective and how you and I are being impacted by cybercrime. From an organizational perspective, what's happening is that these hackers are getting into an organization from one person that works in that organization that perhaps has a weak password, or is inadvertently clicking on a phishing link and giving away organizations' information. And what they're doing is they're using that information to gain access to the organization. And once they're into that organization through just one computer, they can actually gain access to the entire network of information that that organization contains. So all the data of all of the customers, of all of the employees, of all of the clients or suppliers, all of that information can be then held for ransom. So pretty much, if you think about from a relative perspective, it's like kidnapping information, kidnapping the data. And what they do then is they encrypt it, and they say to the organization, if you want access to this information again, you're going to have to pay us a ransom. And normally they'll say, pay us in a Bitcoin account, which is untraceable. If the organization pays, which we don't recommend, they will then sometimes be given a decryption code and they'll be able to get that information back. But what we need to consider is that oftentimes all the time, we're dealing with criminals. And so there's no guarantee that by paying that ransom, you're actually going to get that decryption code. So there's a lot of things that the IT departments within organizations need to do in order to secure a network. So they are generally implementing firewalls and endpoint security and mail scanners and all this technology stuff that we don't understand. But if, as users, as part of that organization, if we clicking on a suspicious email and a link and giving away information like our username and password, we actually allowing that compromise to come into the organization. And so what we need to do is just create an awareness around what are those risks and what are the implications of us falling for a simple phishing scam. In South Africa, we are actually the sixth highest in terms of global attack for cyber attack, and the second highest in Africa. The average cost to remediate, so once an organization has been hit with a ransomware attack, from an average perspective, there's around 6.4 million Rand to recover that data, to become operational again. Because what happens is when that ransomware attack happens, all the computers within that organization are shut down. So as a user, if you come into the organization and you try and get into your computer the next day, your computer will be locked down and you won't be able to operate at all. Last year, actually, cyber attacks cost South Africa 2.3 billion rand. And the reason that this is happening and cyber attacks are so relevant or prevalent in our country is because up until recently, there's been a very low investment into cybersecurity from a government perspective. There's been an immature cybercrime legislation that was until the introduction of POPI last year. And many, many organizations have got ineffective cybersecurity strategies in that their concern or what their focus has been is around the IT security. So exactly that, making sure that they've got firewalls in place and mail scanners like Mimecast. But actually, they're not taking into consideration that the end users need to be properly trained and understand what the impact is of cybercrime. Some organizations that you might be able to recognize here who have been hit with ransomware attacks are organizations like the City of Johannesburg, the Department of Justice, both Standard Bank and Absa, and an organization called DebitIn, Shoprite, Dis-Chem, Transnet, TransUnion. Now, when TransUnion was hit last year, they got into the organization through one user having the word password as their password. And all they did, I mean, you don't have hackers who are sitting there trying to guess people's passwords. They've got bots that are scanning for weak passwords. And all they do is they get into the organization through that one user. Now, what happened is if ever in South Africa, you have ever taken out a line of credit, whether it has been to buy a car or a home or open up a Truewords account, your information was sitting in TransUnion. All the information that you need to present when you're trying to open up a line of credit. So your name, surname, ID number, email address, your banking statement, your proof of income, all of that information was then leaked to these bad actors. In fact, they toyed with TransUnion for a number of days, actually, over weeks. They said, you know, we've been given access, we've gotten access into the organization. If you don't pay us, we're going to start releasing the information that we've got. And there was hesitance from TransUnion into how much data had actually been stolen. And so they started released the president's information onto the dark web, where anybody on the dark web, any hacker could then gain access to all the information of the president. And so it just shows you that it actually doesn't only impact on big organizations. Little organizations are also being hit with cyber attacks. And so none of us are really absolved or free of this potential risk. Every single person, wherever your information is being stored. So, for example, if you just have had an account with Dis-Chem, and that's just a points system, but they already have then your name, surname, email address, and potentially your ID number. That information, when they were hit with a ransomware attack, was leaked out into the dark web. And then, of course, that information can be used to impersonate you and take out line of credit using your information. But I'm not trying to use scare tactics here. I really am just trying to indicate what the implications of a cyber attack are. Just now, we're going to go through the ways you can protect yourself. But for an organization, there is a multitude of costs involved with getting hit with a ransomware attack. And these include the actual cost to recover that data. So remember, I said it costs an average organization 6.4 million rand to remediate after they've been hit with a cyber attack. During that time, it takes an average organization around 6 days to get operational again. Now, if you just think of the operational costs involved of not being able to operate for 6 days, that is a huge financial cost for an organization. Plus then, because of the POPI Act, the POPI Act indicates that if an organization has been found to not take all reasonable measures to protect the data that they hold of their clients and of their employees, they could actually be fined up to 10 million Rand or 10 years in prison. But then you go into the reputational damage. So you think to yourself, you know, you dealing with an Absa or a Standard Bank or any other financial institution where your information has been lost because of them not securing the information that they have of you, that may instill some kind of fear or mistrust. And you might not want to deal with an organization like that in the future. And then there is the staff cost. So when your staff are not operating, they're obviously costing you money to be working and not being able to work because they can't access their computers. Now, from a Transnet perspective, when they went down, were hit with the ransomware attack last year as well, or the year before, they were down for 14 days. And I actually know somebody who works there, and she said the first day that they walked in, and they tried to access the computers, they were starting to get WhatsApp messages through their WhatsApp group saying, whatever you do, please don't access or try and get into your computer. There's been an issue. We'll let you know when you can start trying to access your computer. And she said the first day was cool. You know, everyone was talking to each other, going downstairs, having lunch together. It was fun. They were at work and they didn't have to work. And then day 2 came, and day 3 came, and day 4 came, and they were just swiveling around on their chairs with nothing to do. And then what Transnet had to do is actually force people to take their annual leave to try and recover some costs and while they try to get the organization back up and running. But during that 14-day period, when no access to the computers was possible, think about the other implications. So we had no exports that were able to leave the country. No imports were able to get into the country because our ports were completely shut down. So there's huge costs for an organization to be hit with a ransomware attack. And this is both on large organizations and certainly smaller organizations who actually cannot afford to experience that kind of cost that's associated with the ransomware attack. So if you can log into your Slido app now, using that QR code or logging in through the slido.com URL and entering that code 2834775. If you can go back to the question that, or the explanation that I gave earlier in terms of why do hackers hack? What is their motivation? Let's see if you guys can recall what their motivation for stealing our information is. And absolutely right, it is money. So they are stealing our information and our data, and they are selling it to bad actors who are then using it for a multitude of ways. So let's move on to the next part of our session today, which is really how do hackers hack? What are the tools and tactics that these hackers are using to get our information? And there's a couple of things. So firstly, what we refer to this as is social engineering. We call it people hacking, which is really the use of deception or manipulation to getting us to divulge our personal information that they're using for fraudulent purposes. And there's a couple of psychological tactics that they use to get us or convince us to give away our information. And these include anger, compassion, curiosity, intimidation, flattery. If any of you have watched Netflix these days, there's so many different movies that are on around like the Tinder swindler, where these guys are convincing women, or women convincing men that, you know, they've fallen in love with them, and ultimately these people are just parting with their money. From a compassion perspective, we are all, every single one of us as human beings, have got some kind of trigger in terms of what's gets to us from a compassionate perspective. So mine might be, you know, an ill child who needs help, and I get a Facebook message with a photo of a kid that says, you know, please help this child out. So, you know, we need to feed him tonight. And so I just pay money into that bank account. But the reality of the situation is, how can I be absolutely sure that that child is actually the recipient of my funds that I'm paying into that account, and I'm not actually just paying some scammer who's just playing to my compassionate side? Then there's greed. And unfortunately, all of us have an element of greed in us, because we all want something for nothing. And so if we are offered a free trip to Mauritius, you know, you get an email that says, you know, congratulations, Isabel, you are the winner of that trip to Mauritius or Maldives. Wow, I'm going to jump at it, because all I need to do is fill in this form, confirming who I am, sending my ID, and then, you know, they'll be in touch with me. But actually, I forget that, well, I didn't actually enter any kind of competition. And all I'm really doing now is giving them as much information of me that they're asking for, because I am so excited about this holiday that I'm getting. But fear and anger are big ones. And oftentimes you'll receive an email or a phone call or an SMS that is threatening in some way, because they're telling you that you're going to suffer some kind of loss, or you have suffered some kind of loss. You need to urgently respond so that they can help you to resolve this issue. So, for example, if I had to receive an email to my Gmail account that says, you know, you're going to lose access to all your OneDrive data because there's been a compromise, and all you need to do is reset your password. Now, that would terrify me, because for me, all of my family pictures from when my kids were tiny are sitting on this OneDrive account, which I believe is so secure because it's in the cloud. The reality is that there's been no compromise to my OneDrive account yet, until I actually go and reset that password. And then I am giving them access to my OneDrive and everything else, and they can then shut off my access to that until I pay them. So we just need to make sure that, you know, if something sounds too good to be true, generally it is, and we need to consider these threats, you know, the emotional response that these emails or SMSs or phone calls are eliciting in us to get us to respond quickly, because urgency is always a tactic that these hackers are using. There's always a sense of urgency into the response that they need from us. So what tools, technology tools, are these hackers using to get us to give away our information? I know you've all received an SMS type phish, which is which we refer to as smishing. You know, you've all received that one, I'm sure, where an uncle has passed away and left you his entire estate to inherit, and all you need to do is click on this link or contact so-and-so who actually sits in Nigeria, and give your information so they can process the funds to you. Another one, which, I mean, this one is going around a lot lately, I received it not so long ago, is an SMS that you receive from Luno. And this one says that your Luno account is going to be blocked. Click on this link to update now and keep access on the 2022 server. Now, if I'm a Luno customer, this is going to elicit a response of fear in me, because potentially I'm definitely using Luno to trade, but I'm going to lose access to all of the funds that are sitting in Luno, and I really don't want that to happen. So there's that element of fear. There's this has to happen right now. There's that sense of urgency. And so if I click on that link, I'll see it takes me to a page that looks exactly like my Luno login. It's asking me for my email address, my password, and my mobile number. But on further considerations, if we just look a little bit more closely at the information that contains in this SMS, you'll see that that link that it's asking you to click on has no relationship to Luno at all. It's not sending you to the Luno, the actual Luno login site. And if you've clicked on that link, you'll see at the bottom of the screen there that the URL that it's redirecting you to has nothing to do with Luno at all either. Worse yet, if you have inserted your email address, password, and mobile number, you've given access to this hacker to actually access your Luno accounts. But scarier yet is that many, many people are using the same password across multiple accounts. So if you are entering your password there for Luno and you are using the same password across multiple accounts, because let's be honest, many passwords are very difficult to remember these days, you potentially then also giving them access to your banking sites, your social media platforms, or access into your work network. The most common type of phishing attacks that are happening out there are coming through email. So here's one example that came to me from Google. It looks like this email is from Google that says that my account has been locked because of some kind of suspicious activity. All I need to do is click on this link and they'll quickly resolve, or I can reset my password for for Google. The problem is that if we are falling victim to these psychological tactics that these hackers are using, and it's easy for them, right? Because all they're doing is they're creating a simple website, an email that using the Google pictures, and they can try and convince me that this is actually an email that's coming from Google. The thing is that if I just hover over that link before clicking on it and actually interrogate where this link is going to redirect me to, you'll see there that in that URL, there is absolutely no reference to Google at all. On further inspection, you can also see that this email is not coming from any Google platform, because any email after the @ sign will give you an indication of the domain, so the company name. And in this one, all they've done is they created a domain called emailsupport.me. This has no reference to Google at all. And so you can be pretty sure, just through a couple of checks that you're doing, that this email is in fact not going to take you to a true Google site. It will look like Google, and as soon as you enter your username and password and reset your password, you are giving the hackers access into your actual Google accounts. Now, another type of email phishing is what we call spear phishing. Now, spear phishing is more targeted. Here, the hacker already knows something around the company that you work for, perhaps which department, or your actual role within the organization. And what they're trying to do is get you to give away more information. So you could receive an email from what looks like the HR department or the IT department, asking you to reset your password. And because you convinced that this is coming from the IT department and they're telling you that you urgently need to reset your password, you go ahead and you take action, you reset your password, and once again, it's just a spoofed email. So they're using your email domain, they've gotten into the organization, and now they're just trying to get you to reset your password so they can gain access to your organization's network. One that is very, very common at the moment is also an email compromise. We call this business email compromise, or whaling. This is where hackers are, through a simple Google search, are finding out who the leadership people are within that organization. And they are pretending to be those people in executive positions, giving instruction to somebody within the organization to either transfer funds, go and buy uh, cards, like those Google Play cards or Netflix or whatever it is. And as soon as you're giving away that information or transferring those funds, because you think the email has come from a boss or a person of authority, you are taking action, and unfortunately the organization doesn't know anything about it. Certainly that executive doesn't, because all they've done is they've spoofed the email address or name of the person in that executive position. Now, spoofing is pretty easy. All they're doing is it's any one of us could actually spoof an email, because you have control over how your name displays when an email is sent. So I could go and change in my Gmail, I could go and change my name to display as anything using my Gmail accounts. When the person receives the email, they think that the email is coming from me, but actually, it's coming from anybody who is pretending to use my name to get somebody to act. So those are all the email types of phishing. But then there is voice phishing, and we call this vishing. Now, there's been a massive increase in terms of spam calls that are happening since the TransUnion attack happened last year, because a lot of our information is sitting out in the dark web, and unfortunately, some organizations or bad actors have purchased this information, and now they're starting to phone us and get us to give away more information. So just think about how many calls you might have received recently from somebody that says they're from your bank. There's been suspicious transactions on your account. I'm phoning from FNB, and I want to try and assist you. So quickly, I'm going to send you an OTP so that I can access your account and help you resolve these suspicious transactions. And you get this OTP, you're distracted, you give them the OTP number, something else happens, another OTP comes through, you get distracted. And this actually happened to a friend of ours who lost 70,000 Rand within a 4-minute phone call. Because they were distracted, the person sounded so real. It really sounded like it was a call center person from FNB. Now, our warning here is do not give away any information of yours over the phone. So if somebody phones you and asks you to verify who you are, the reality is if you are a customer, the call center or that company would have your information. You shouldn't have to verify who you are. You have every right to actually then say to that caller, I'm not giving my information to you over the phone. Let me phone the call center. What is your name? I can ask for you. And you'll find that very often, if it is a vishing attack, they'll move into an intimidation tactics. I'm trying to help you. There's suspicious activities on your accounts. Just don't fall for any of that. Don't give away any of your personal information to anybody over the phone. I'm going to also now just show you a quick 2-minute video on what malware and ransomware are, because all of these different types of attacks, so smishing, vishing, whaling, phishing, all of these actually fall into some kind of malware and ransomware attack. So let me show you a video on the impacts then.
Let's face it, the internet is a pretty cool place. There's memes, epic fails, cute babies, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and if there's time left, you can always get some work done. And you have an antivirus that keeps you protected at all times, right? Wrong. There are unseen dangers lurking everywhere, and they go by many names. Viruses, worms, bots, trojans, spyware, adware, and rootkits. All together, they are known as malware or malicious software. Malware refers to any file or software that is designed to intentionally compromise a computer or device. By far the most popular malware used by cybercriminals today is known as ransomware. This malware is spread by attaching the malicious file to an email or embedding the payload in a malicious website. When an unsuspecting target opens the attachments or clicks on the link to the website, the ransomware is automatically downloaded to the victim's device and quickly goes to work encrypting everything, unlocking the user out of their device and data. Hackers request ransom in cryptocurrency so payments and attackers are difficult to track. Businesses, their employees and company servers are also exposed to the same risk. Malware doesn't discriminate. To secure yourself from ransomware, just follow these simple steps. Avoid suspicious emails from unknown sources. If you get any such emails, just delete them. Cybercriminals take advantage of out-of-date software by constantly modifying the malware code so that it can remain undetected. So, keep your operating system patched and up-to-date to ensure you have fewer vulnerabilities to exploit. Don't install software or give it administrative privileges unless you know exactly what it is and what it does. And, of course, back up your files frequently and automatically. Stay vigilant when opening email and think before you click.
Cool. So let's move on to our next question of today, which is, do you remember what I said? What is the most common type of social engineering tool used by hackers? Is it vishing, spear phishing, whaling, or smishing? Yeah, I see a lot of people are giving us some responses there. So smishing, yes, it is common. Certainly spear phishing and whaling are part of it, but phishing, and these are the emails that you are receiving from a Google or a OneDrive, generally to your Gmail accounts, where a hacker can send out a simple email across millions and millions of people at the same time. And if a couple of people just click on that link, they're potentially giving away free information to these hackers. So phishing is actually the most common type of social engineering tool that is being used by hackers. So let's move on to the next part of today's session, which is how you can prevent yourself from falling victim to cyber attack. So we are, for the month of October at ABS, we are running a couple of seminars that really go into quite a lot of depth into what are the core 4 things that you can do within 5 minutes to protect yourself and stay safe in a cyber world. And the first one is to, how you identify and report phishing emails. What are strong passwords and some password manager apps that are good to use? What is multi-factor authentication, and how often you need to update your software? So I'm quickly going to go over some of these things, but you are welcome to join our webinars that are still taking place on the 12th and 19th of October. And I've put the link in there. We'll share that link with you. You could welcome to register for those. But one of the first things that you can actually do to prevent yourself from having impersonation fraud is to sign up with the South African Fraud Prevention Service. Now, this is a free service for all South Africans. And what you do is you create an account with them where if at any stage, any account or credit is being opened up in your name, that includes you asking for a line of credit from anywhere, you will need to present this letter that they provide you with to say that your information is secure through the South African Fraud Prevention Service, and this additional a form of identification is needed to extend that credit. So I've signed up with it personally. I suggest that you guys do. It is a free service. So go ahead and sign up with them. Let's talk about how to spot a phishing email. There's really 3 things that you need to look out for. You will always be asked to click on a link or open an attachment. where you need to provide additional information. So you need to either log into an account or change your password or open an attachment that actually contains a malicious software. Generally, the subject line is demanding some kind of urgent action. And in the body of the email, they'll provide some kind of consequence for not acting, or give you a way out. So without giving too much information, they'll say you've lost all access to your OneDrive data, but if you just click on this link, you'll be able to reset your password. So there's a consequence or a demanding action, and they're offering some kind of reprieve from that. And then you need to just have a look at and scrutinize the email addresses that are coming through. Check the domain. Does the company name after the @ display? Is that URL actually going to take you to that company where you're expecting to go? Does the email, has the email been spoofed? So is it actually, let's just say you're receiving an email from me, which is Isabel@AVS. Is that actually the email address? Or if you receive an email from Isabel Adams, is it coming from some strange Gmail account? So check those and scrutinize the emails before you click on any link within an email. And if you think it is a phishing email, report it. So either if it's coming through your organization, report it to your IT team so that they can make sure that nobody else in that organization falls victim to that email. If you're receiving these kind of emails to your Gmail accounts, report it to the company and tell them, listen, I received this email. It looks suspicious. Please alert all of your customers. And you find that a lot. So oftentimes FNB or Standard Bank or Discovery Bank will let you know that they have identified that somebody is using email phishing to try and pretend to be those banking organizations, and they remind you, please don't share your bank card, please don't share your PIN. We'll never ask you for that kind of information. So report it to the organization. In terms of passwords is a hot topic of conversation. It has been for some time. And you'll notice that certainly over the last year, every time you are asked to create some kind of account that requires a password, the website or your organization will say you need to maintain the strong password policy, which is usually anything between 8 and 12 characters long. It has to contain a capital letter, a lowercase, some numbers, and some special characters. But passwords are difficult to remember. And I mean, if you think how many times you are asked to use a password to enter into some kind of account, it's almost impossible to remember 20,000 different passwords. And we get that. So we recommend that people do one of two things. Either you can create passphrases, which are easy for you to remember and are not identifiable names and dates. So don't ever use your name and the first 4 digits of your birth date, whether it's yours, one of your children, or your girlfriend, or your wife, or husband. Don't use any identifiable names. Use a password manager app. So we recommend LastPass. There's hundreds. In fact, if you're using an iPhone or an Android phone, generally the latest versions of those phones are coming with built-in password manager apps, which are secure. Password manager apps, don't be afraid of them. The developers are not storing your username and password in any applications. So even if, and LastPass actually did experience a hack about 2 weeks ago, but none of the information of usernames and passwords are stored anywhere on their servers. So even if they are attacked, people aren't going to get your information. Certainly don't be writing down your password in a little black book or on a sticky note and putting it on your computer. It's easy for people to find that book, and have access to all of your username and password. And then definitely make sure that you're using any additional security features. So multi-factor authentication, or MFA, or 2FA, or Google Authenticator. These can secure your apps by about 98%, because it's, besides just your username and password, you're actually providing a second form of identification. So you know by now that on any banking app that we have, a single form of identification is not good enough anymore, so a username and password. You're also being asked to either do facial recognition, or a fingerprint, or a code. So make sure on as many apps as you can, implement the multi-factor authentication, especially on your social media accounts. That way, if your phone is stolen, for example, anybody who gets access to your phone will not be able to go into those other apps that have additional information on you, because they won't have your facial recognition, your fingerprint, or that additional code that you have. So let's talk about how you can protect your actual devices and your networks in the office. So a lot of us are now working from home. It's become kind of the norm, isn't it? And we are connecting to our offices network through either public Wi-Fi's or our home Wi-Fi's. So we need to make sure that those, especially the public Wi-Fi's, are that the information that we have on our devices and within our organizations is secure from anybody else who can access that Wi-Fi. So we recommend using a VPN, or a virtual private network. And what that does is it adds a layer of protection between your device and the internet. So you still have access to the internet, but anybody else who's a bad actor that's also using that Wi-Fi won't be able to access the information on your phone. And it creates a secure tunnel for you to access information from your work and send information to your work. So definitely, if you're accessing your work remotely, do that through a virtual private network. When you are searching the internet, and this goes for any website where you are asked to put in additional information, please make sure that that website is secure. Now, every single URL worldwide it starts with HTTP. Now, if you're going to be putting any information into a website, make sure that that URL is secure. And you know that it's secure when it has an S. So HTTPS, the S stands for security. And what that does is the organization has paid to encrypt any information that is captured through that website. That includes the cookies. So when you're accepting cookies on any website, what you're actually doing when you accept is you are giving permission for that website to track where you are from in the world, what you've searched for on their website, how many times you've gone onto their website. And they generally use that information to send you targeted advertising. So it's your choice whether you accept or don't. Generally, if you don't accept the cookies, you won't have full access to that website's functionality. So make sure that it is a secure site. And then finally, from a protecting your devices perspective, please make sure that you are running your updates on a regular basis. When you are instructed that there is an update, we recommend that you are running auto updates on all of your apps and your devices, because the reason that you're getting that notification for updates to run is because the manufacturers or web developers have identified that there's a vulnerability in their code. So they then are doing patches, and they're making sure that they secure their code, and they are running pushing updates to you to be on the most secure version of that app or that device. So make sure that you are running your updates on a very regular basis. But then also check your phone. How many apps do you have on your phone that you are not using on a regular basis? Generally, unused apps we don't run updates on those apps, and those are creating vulnerability or opportunity for our devices to be unsecure, and for hackers to get into our devices. So remove your unused apps. All they're doing is taking up storage space and creating vulnerabilities. From a social media perspective, please, guys, remember that what goes online stays online forever. Everything that you put on social media, even if you delete that post, can actually be traced back to you. So we've heard about people who have been promoted to executive positions. Someone's managed to go into their Twitter accounts and found something that they posted that was offensive 10 years ago, and it's had a huge impact on their position. And let's be honest, these days, it's too easy to insult somebody. So be careful about what you're posting. Slander of any form, whether it's about an organization or a person, is unacceptable on social media these days. Think about the identifiable features of the posts, the pictures. So every year we taking photos of our kids on their first day of school, and we're posting it all over our social networks. But just think about, who are the people in your network? Do you really know every single one of the connections that you have? Are people just watching you from afar and actually not engaging with you? It's a good thing to clean up your friends list at least once a year. Make sure that the people that you are friends with on social media are actually people that you would sit down and have a meal with. And then change your privacy settings. So unless you're a social media influencer and you want everybody in the world to see what you're posting, go and change your privacy settings to make sure that only your friends can see what you're posting. Also, checking in at locations. Remember that when you are checking in at a location to say that you're currently in Mauritius or Greece or wherever it is, you aren't at home. And also the people on your social media can then use that opportunity to use business email compromise. So they could, if I'm on holiday and somebody on my social media network sees that, it's easy for them to send an email to one of my colleagues pretending to be me. Hi, I can't access the work network. I need your help urgently. Please, can you take this kind of action? So think about what you're posting on social media. Okay, let's get into the quiz for today. If you can log into your Slido. There are 5 questions that we're going to be asking. If you can just put your name so that we know who the winner is. I can see currently we've got 30 participants. Let's give you guys a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds to join the quiz. Okay, I see that the joining rate is starting to slow down a little bit. So let's get into the first question of today. The first question, and let me just warn you guys that in terms of the question, the winners are the people who answer the correct answer first. Okay, so you want to be fastest fingers first with the correct answers. Let's get into our first question of the day, and that is, what is the main cause of cybersecurity incidents? Is it slow computers, fake passwords, human error, or poor procedures? And you now have about 30 seconds to answer that question. Okay, we got 8 seconds left. I see most people have actually answered. Let's go and see. 92% of you are 100% correct. It is, in fact, human error that is the main cause of cybersecurity incidents. Remember, a lot of us are giving away our information for free. These hackers are tricking us into giving away our information. So be careful about the information you are sharing with people. Let's get into our next question. Oh, the winner of that round was Nancy. Well done, Nancy. Let's see if anybody else can catch up. I see Jessica and Ashton, you right behind. So let's see if we can change the leaderboard for the next question. The next one is, what safety measures can you take to protect your information? There are a couple of correct answers here, so you can select all the applicable answers. What safety measures can you take to protect your information? Should you create a strong password, not click on suspicious links, skip the updates on your device, or use multi-factor authentication? And we have 15 seconds left to answer that question. So you guys are quick, and we have 5 seconds left. Let's see what the correct answers were. Absolutely right. Correct. Create strong passwords. Don't click on those suspicious links, and use multi-factor authentication. Remember, we don't want to skip the updates on our devices. We want to be running those updates on a regular basis to make sure that we are using the most secure version of that app. So, Landy, well done. You've moved into the leaderboard for this session. Let's move on to our third question of today, which is, what is a simple behavior to remember to help stop a hacking attempt? Should you go slow, think critically about the situation, click fast, hackers won't be able to stop you, or keep quiet because secrets stop hackers? And we have a couple of seconds left to answer this question. Okay, let's get into the answer in 2 seconds. 1. That's right. So yes, guys, go slow. Think critically about the situation. If you receive an email, it seems too good to be true, stop and think. If you're being asked to click on a link or open an attachment, stop and think, and then start interrogating that email. Don't be giving away any information of yours to callers. Think critically before you start giving away your personal information. Okay, Ashton is the leader of that round. So good job, Ashton. Let's keep going on to question 4. What should you do if you receive a suspicious email at work? Should you forward it to your co-workers and open it together? Click the links inside the email to investigate the message? Check your company IT policy and notify your IT department, or share it to your personal email and open it on your own computer? I think the answers here are pretty simple, but let's see how many of us have got the answer right. We have 10 seconds left to answer this question. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's right. Most of you got that correct. Check your company's IT policy and notify your IT department. For those people who said click in the link, you'd never want to click in the link. You can hover over it to see where it's going to redirect you, but never click in the link and let it take you to that suspicious URL. Landy, you have gone to the top of the leaderboard here. Let's get into our final question for today. What is social engineering? Is it when a hacker doesn't get any good information, stopping them from getting access to a company system? Is it a cute person giving you compliments at the club? Or is it when a hacker tricks someone into giving them valuable information, allowing them to get access into a company system? And we have 15 seconds to answer this final question for today, and then we'll be, please don't leave. We have got some information to share with you. It'll only take an extra minute. And let's see what the correct answer is and who the winner of our quiz is. Yes, you guys are correct. It is when a hacker tricks someone into giving them valuable information, allowing access into a company system. I'm glad none of you thought that social engineering is a cute person giving you compliments at a club. So our overall winner of today's session is Ashton de Kock. Congratulations, Ashton. Thank you so much for your participation. We'll be in touch with you to give you your amazing prize. So I'm going to ask Ryan to come in with here, because ultimately what we are trying to achieve through these sessions and others is to really change behavior for users across organizations. And the only way you can do that is by providing people with regular, effective cyber awareness training. So we have partnered with an amazing company called Goldfish, who do a platform that has really cool videos, something like the one that I showed you just now on ransomware and malware. They are short videos, and this will reduce your organization's risk of cyber attack by 70%. There are so many topics that that we go through there, and I'm going to get hand over to Ryan now to tell you about the special offer we have for you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Isabel, for what has been a fascinating and really informative session. So thank you so much for that. You've done a fantastic job in highlighting just how important it is to have the awareness and training and the role that we've all got to play as cyber heroes within our own organizations. So what we're doing as a promotion through the month of October is for every new i2Go policy sold through October, as well as i2Go renewal, we will be giving away 5 licenses to Goldfish. If you have clients that don't meet the i2Go requirements, they're not already running end user awareness training and campaigns, be in contact with us. We'll look to allocate licenses to them as well. But this is really a first step and an exciting step, we feel, in giving a bit more value back to our policyholders and helping them to better equip themselves with the fight against cybercrime. So this is the offer we'll be running through the month of October. If all goes well, we'll look to extend that and hope to get a lot of clients out there better equipped to look after themselves.
Good.
I think maybe just to, sorry, Isabel, just to touch on as well, Isabel did mention a little bit earlier on in the session that I'm sure a lot of people saw a lot of value in the session. AVS will be running 2 more training sessions during the course of October. We will send out a mail after this session highlighting our new i2Go product, which was refreshed a couple of weeks ago, what the changes to that are, reaffirming this offer that we're running through October, as well as the dates for those AVS sessions. Maybe worth dropping a line to some of your clients to attend those sessions just to improve their security posture.